Welcome back, guys. I hope you're having a beautiful day. I've got an Am I the Devil compilation for you guys today, and I'm also going to read a new post at the beginning. It's such a fun subreddit. I'm so excited for this. And with that being said, let's get straight into it. Enjoy, guys. Am I the a-hole for leaving a bad review on a tattoo shop because I didn't have enough cash? I, 27 female, have been eyeballing this tattoo shop in my local mall for quite some time now. I was on the fence about getting a tattoo from there because it already had a ton of bad reviews directed at the customer service. I was able to save up enough money for a small tattoo, and I decided to give the place a chance since I thought it would be cool to get tattooed in the mall, and I figured the place could use some love. However, the moment I walked in, the shop owner seemed instantly annoyed with my presence. When I finally got a chance to talk to a tattoo artist about what I wanted, a small, simple owl head, she wanted $250 for it. I explained to her that I only had $150 on hand, especially since they irritatingly only took cash, so I couldn't just spend the money that I didn't immediately have. I was hoping that she would try to simplify the design more so that I could afford it, but she instead told me to come back when I had more money. I went from being excited to get tattooed in the mall to feeling disappointed, so I left a negative review, calling the artist out by name and heavily criticizing her for putting zero effort into her job. When I initially left the review, I felt satisfied and justified. However, now I feel as if I overreacted a little and I'm starting to feel guilty, especially now that I've effectively removed getting a mole tattoo from my tattoo bucket list in a way that I didn't want. I've spent over $300 on small, simple tattoos at conventions in the past, which my dad has criticized me for, but those were talented artists who traveled to be there. This was a hole-in-the-wall shop that for some reason thought they were too good to work with me. Am I the a-hole? OP, tattoos are expensive. I don't understand why you feel like it's their issue because you didn't have enough money. And yeah, what did they actually do wrong to deserve a negative review? That's so confusing. OP has a comment here that said, my main artist usually charges me $100 to $150 for good quality pieces. Yeah, no, that's not true. I don't believe that even for a second. $100 isn't going to get you good tattoos. You can barely get any tattoo for $100. And like this comment says, why would anybody want to get tattooed in a mall? Why do you think spending a whopping $300 is something substantial? That's like an hour's worth of ink, maybe. Why do you think an artist has to do something they don't want to put their name on, reworking to fit your budget? And why is your budget their issue? If you only want to spend so-and-so amount on something, you find the artist to fit your budget, not try to force an artist who doesn't, and then negatively review them when they don't. Yeah, and like the comment under that one says, right, the only time I can even recall spending that little on a tattoo was when my husband and I got matching ones. We already had the design, and the artist just needed to stencil it out in Montreal as walk-ins. If I sat down and tried to do the math on how much I've spent on tattoos over the years, I'd probably cry. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't even have that many tattoos. I have like 6 tattoos, but still, that would have been at least over $2,000 that I've spent on them. I'm very sus about these $100 tattoos that OP is talking about. There's a comment here from OP that said they vary in size, but the biggest one takes up my ribs. I wish it were easier to post pictures on Reddit. I'd totally show them off. And somebody said you paid $100 to $150 for a large rib tattoo, and OP said, yeah, so my artist likes me. They charge me by the hour, and he's surprisingly fast. But yeah, like that comment said, because the tattoo artist isn't willing to do something for that price does not mean they've done something wrong. Yeah, the top comment, you're the a-hole. You say that you saved up enough money except you hadn't. I'm so confused why you think the fact that you don't have enough money is somehow the problem of the tattoo artist. You could have gone in beforehand, asked how much a tattoo would be, and then come back with enough money, or decided to go somewhere that has cheaper prices. Why exactly do you think you owed a discount? Yeah, 1,000,000%. Okay, I'm out of here. Good luck with the compilation, everybody. It's gonna be an adventure. Thank you for the support, and I'll see you in the next episode. Am I the a-hole for cancelling my daughter's music classes? I'm a single mum to one daughter, Madeline, 15. She's very musically inclined, is an amazing singer, so when everything happened, I put her piano lessons and voice lessons after school once a week to give her something to look forward to. Madeline has leukemia. She gets chemo every day for a week and then has 3 weeks off. I understand that she's tired and probably can't focus well because of the chemo, but she has fallen behind in all of her classes and hasn't been keeping her room clean, but she was always doing great in her voice lessons and piano classes. I think if she tried half as hard in school as she does in voice and piano, she'd be great. So I called her teachers and I told them I was cancelling classes until further notice, and I told them why. Madeline's voice teacher asked me to reconsider and told me that she thinks Madeline has a real chance at making it as a singer. I told her that my decision is final until she catches up in school and can keep her room clean, and then I hung up. When I told Madeline that her classes were cancelled until she keeps her room clean and catches up in school, she started crying and yelling at me that I'm taking away the only thing that she has and that she hates me. It's been a month and I rarely hear Madeline singing or playing piano anymore, and she stays in bed all day. She only speaks to me when it's absolutely necessary, and even then will only say a couple of words. I bought her headphones for her birthday a couple of weeks ago, and she hasn't even touched them. They're sitting in the sealed box in her room. I'm starting to feel bad about taking her lessons away, but I just wanted her to try harder in school and to keep her room clean. That's not too much to ask. Was I the a-hole for taking away her lessons? Edit. I realised I was the a-hole. Tomorrow morning I'm going to call Madeline's teachers and put her back in voice and piano lessons, and we're going to schedule a meeting with her school counsellor after her break to see how we can make school easier. Edit 2, to those of you asking about her room. My parents were hoarders and their house was always cluttered, and when I moved out I needed everything to be clean or I wouldn't be able to function. Edit 3, Madeline is back in her music classes and we're both starting individual therapy and family therapy soon. I'm also going to try to have somebody come once a week to clean so she won't have to worry about any chores. Right, so I'm really happy that they put the edits on the post. It's nice when people make these sorts of posts and they realise that they're in the wrong and they're like, okay, hold on a second, I'm going to make everything right. Because yeah, like the top comment says, you the a-hole, this year is tough for many students, but on top of that, your daughter is struggling with a serious illness. Your punishment should match the crime. Taking away something that she enjoys and practices doesn't do that. It's just a power move, not an actual punishment. And this comment, you the a-hole. Oh my god, you're such an a-hole. If my kid had literal actual goddamn cancer and was getting chemotherapy, her grades would be the absolute last thing in this world that I'd be worried about. She had something that was making her happy while doing chemo for her cancer, and you took it away because her report card made you mad? What the hell's wrong with you? Yeah, that's a really good comment. Yeah, why would you be worried about the grades? And also, it's one of those sorts of posts that is so obvious that they're in the wrong. It makes me wonder if it's even real. I'm pretty sure it is, but like, how did they not realize they were in the wrong? Like, oh yeah, my daughter is battling leukemia. What I should really be worrying about is her grades and how clean her room is. That's so awful. Okay, post number 2 is called, am I the a-hole for having an allergic reaction at a dinner party? My friend from work, we'll call her Amy, invited my husband and me, as well as a few of her neighbours over to her house for a potluck last night. It wasn't supposed to be anything big, just a nice get together, but Amy insisted on making dessert. She's an accomplished baker and has even been to pastry school, so none of us were complaining. We got through the evening just fine, and I would actually say that I made a few friends, but by the time dessert rolled around I knew there'd be a problem. Amy had baked a wonderful cherry pie, but I've never tolerated cherries well. I assume it's an allergy, but I've never been formally tested, so I don't know. I really like the taste of cherries though, and I needed something sweet after the meal, so I helped myself to a big slice. At the time I thought it would look a bit weird of me to turn it down, especially because I've raved about Amy's desserts before, but now I'm wondering if this was the right move. Pretty sure you already know that it isn't the right move, OP. Oh, I might be allergic to cherries. I better eat some. For the first few minutes after eating, everything was fine, but soon I felt quite warm in the face. When I went to the bathroom and I saw myself in the mirror, there was some slight swelling around my eyes, but I didn't think too much of it. Oh, come on. You didn't think too much of it when you know that you might be allergic? After all, my previous bad experience with cherries involved gastrointestinal symptoms, so the puffiness was new. When I returned to the table though, several of the guests began staring at me. They asked me if I was okay, and I assured them that I was. Soon though, things got worse, and even my tongue started to swell. At this point, I took some Benadryl out of my purse and I swallowed it to prevent the reaction from getting worse. I didn't want to be any more of a distraction than I already was, but unfortunately, I couldn't participate in the conversation anymore because my big tongue didn't allow me to speak properly. The Benadryl eventually did its job, but it made me really tired. I excused myself to the living room where I fell asleep on the couch. My husband woke me up when it was time to go, and he seemed pretty embarrassed. In fact, he would barely speak to me on the way home. When we got home, he finally broke his silence and said that I made a fool of us. He continued that if I knew I had a cherry allergy, I should have simply refused the dessert. I couldn't believe his attitude. Amy practically forced the pie on us, and she didn't list the ingredients beforehand. In fact, she never even asked about food allergies before hosting the party. Yeah, but you just said that it had cherries in it and that you knew it had cherries in it. If you're allergic to cherries, it's your responsibility not to eat them, OP. How the hell was Amy meant to know that? My husband said that she would have understood if I had said no, and that I looked like a swollen mess at the table. Things have been really tense between us all day, and I feel like he's not listening to me at all. I did what I thought was right, and it simply didn't work out. That happens to all of us, yet he seems to want an apology for a simple miscalculation. I need to know your opinions on this. Am I the a-hole? OP, you literally said, I knew there would be a problem. Amy had baked a wonderful cherry pie, but I knew I never tolerated cherries well. I assumed it was an allergy, but I never had it formally tested. With that information that you already knew, it's your responsibility to not eat it, OP. Nobody's gonna care at all if you said that you couldn't have it because you might be allergic to cherries. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, like this comment says, you the a-hole, why are you blaming Amy for your incompetence? You know that you're allergic to cherries and you ate them. Yeah, that was the most annoying part, trying to put the responsibility onto Amy for this, as if Amy's meant to be like, okay guys, is anybody allergic to any of the ingredients that I used. How is it Amy's job to make sure that you don't eat something that you know that you're allergic to when Amy doesn't know what you're allergic to? But also the part with the husband doesn't make any sense either. Like what, you went and passed out on the couch and your husband isn't concerned? Like what do you mean you fell asleep on the couch and nobody even said anything? Like if this is real, which I'm assuming it is, I would hope that your husband would care a little bit. Like that doesn't sound good on your husband's part either. But yeah, you're the a-hole OP. Don't eat cherries if you feel like you're allergic to them. And even more so, don't put the responsibility onto somebody else for making sure that you don't eat something you're allergic to. That's so wild. It's not Amy's responsibility. The top comment says allergies get worse if you annoy your body with them. So don't eat stuff that you're allergic to. Next time you could die. So alone for ignoring your body, you the gay hole, but also for making yourself knowingly the main character. You said it yourself that you took a big piece of pie. Yeah, that got me too. Like if you think you're allergic to cherries, why would you eat a whole bunch of them? Like it said in the post, I needed something sweet after the meal, so I helped myself to a big slice, knowing that I'm probably allergic to cherries. And the comment below that one too, I'm allergic to fish and seafood. You know what I don't eat? Fish and seafood. You brought all of this onto yourself. You could have skipped the pie and got some ice cream or something on your way home if you needed something sweet. Instead, you drew all of the attention away from Amy and her guests and onto you. Yeah, you the a-hole. And these comments too. I'm pretty sure this one's not real. The way your tongue swelled so badly is a huge sign that you need an EMTs and ER pronto. The severity of your allergic reaction meant you could have easily been dead before Benadryl even had a chance to kick in. Pills designed to be fast-acting can take as little as 20 minutes to about an hour, based on how full your stomach is. The vast majority of adults I know would recognize your reaction as a true medical emergency. You the a-hole for eating something you know can make you sick. Yeah, and the comment under that one, she didn't want to be a distraction with her life-threatening reaction, so she went and passed out on the couch during a dinner party. Yeah, I'm really hoping this one isn't real. The next one is called, would I be the a-hole for trying to stop my brother's wedding? Oh god, I don't even want to read that. My brother is getting married to his childhood sweetheart soon. I didn't like the whole idea of the wedding because they're practically still kids and it would be dumb for them to get married so young. Our parents, ours and hers, are pretty pissed about it too, but going along with it anyway because they were worried they might just elope and go no contact otherwise. Also, I'm in love with his fiance. Oh god. We all sort of grew up together, neighbors for 5 years when we were teens, and our parents are close friends now. And she always had a big crush on me, but I ignored it because she was a kid and really annoying. But her and my brother were always best friends because they were the same age. We had a bit of a thing when we were like 18 and 16, but again, I thought she was too young, and also I was dealing with a lot of personal stuff at the time, so I ended up pushing her away and making her think I didn't want her because I didn't want to hurt her. Even though I kinda did start to really like her, I guess I thought that she'd just be there when I was ready or something, because she'd always been so obsessed with me. Cue my freaking brother riding in on his white horse when I broke things off with her, and them getting together, which was always his game plan, I think. FF 4 years, I'm assuming, what, friends for 4 years, and apparently they're getting married. She's more religious than us, and they've always done the purity ring BS, so obviously my brother just got bored of waiting and wants to get married so he can get laid. I don't think he's good enough for her, and I never did, especially in the light of what I know now. Anyway, my brother got really drunk the other night and told me that when they broke up for a while, I don't know why they broke up, but I remember he was really cut up about it. Last year, he got with somebody else just before they ended up getting back together, and he was going on to me about how bad he felt about it, and how he didn't know that she was going to take him back when he did it, and he wished he hadn't. In brackets, whatever, ding dong. I don't think she knows what he did, and I don't think she would marry him if she knew that he'd gone and cheated on her when they were broken up, especially if they're doing the whole no sex before marriage. Would I be the a-hole if I told her what he did, and told her how I really feel about her and maybe stop the wedding? I really think she's my soulmate, and that deep down she probably wants to be with me too, but she just doesn't know that I'm in love with her still, or still an option, or that he's just a cheat. If I love her too, I should tell her, right? She might want to be with me instead. Okay, so first of all, no. And your brother's not a cheat. Yeah, the top comment, you're an a-hole for even considering that. There's nothing to tell. Your brother didn't cheat. He and his girlfriend were broken up. You sound like you hate your brother. Your post is a litany of excuses and justifications as to why you think you have the right to try and stop the wedding. So yeah, you're the a-hole for being so bitter and spiteful towards your brother. If you go ahead and tell his fiance, again, there's nothing to tell, then you're triple the a-hole, and you'll destroy whatever relationship you have with your brother. And also this comment, you the a-hole, she's more religious than us and they've always done that purity ring BS. Your attitude to her belief shows that you're not even compatible, let alone soulmates. What he did while they were broken up is not even your business. The right thing to do is to encourage your brother to get tested, if he didn't use protection, and encourage him to be honest with her that he's not a virgin anymore. And that's it. Stay out of their relationship. You'll lose your brother over this, and given your lack of compatibility, it would have been for nothing. Like what, I'm jealous of my brother, so should I try and ruin their relationship? Am I the a-hole? Yeah, of course you are. Haha. Yeah, and this comment too. You the a-hole, you don't even sound like you love her, just that you don't want your brother to have her. Your disdain for your brother is clear as well. She moved on. Leave it alone. It's time for you to move on too. Yeah, I'm hoping that none of the stories we read today are real, but I'm really hoping this one isn't real. And also, the bloody audacity to feel like you could ruin somebody's relationship and the person is gonna somehow fall in love with you and then get with you, like it's some crappy romance movie or something. Like, oh yeah, I'll just ruin their relationship and then she'll definitely love me. Oh, that was so bad. The next one is called, Am I the a-hole for mum shaming my sister? My 20 male sister, 28 female, has a 5-year-old. His dad is not in the picture. She's currently temporarily living with us. My nephew is the most entitled little brat that you'll ever meet. Super picky eater, constantly jumping around, messy, moody, oversensitive, throwing tantrums all because my sister enables him. Before she moved in with us, I used to feel sad for her, but now I think it's her fault. For example, he keeps bringing in dirty rocks and instead of telling him not to, my sister washes them for him and lets him keep them. Or whenever he cries over a toy, she always gives in and buys him whatever he wants. He won't sleep without his toys and he has the worst sleep schedule. He'll wake up in the middle of the night wanting to play or because he just remembered something. She enables this behavior by listening to what he has to say. He's touch sensitive, sound sensitive, light sensitive, sensitive anything, and my sister does absolutely nothing to get him used to it. She also refuses to discipline him in any way. I told her to tell him to go to bed hungry and eventually he'll get hungry and eat, but she refused, saying that she won't starve her kid. I told her to stop picking up his toys after him and not give him toys until he learns. She said that she won't punish him like that. He still occasionally wets himself and my sister took him to a pediatrician for that, but they found nothing wrong and recommended them to a child psychiatrist. So he got evaluated and didn't get diagnosed with anything, but my sister refuses to believe that this is all a result of her poor parenting and goes doctor shopping to get him diagnosed. Now, since she moved in with us, my mum has been helping her. When she told us how she's so anxious about moving back because she'll be alone again, and she loves my nephew and wouldn't change him for the world, but sometimes it can be so hard to handle. I said, that's on you though. She asked me what I meant, and I told her my nephew is hard to handle because she lacks discipline and keeps enabling him. Her gentle parenting clearly doesn't do her any favors. She doesn't get to complain because she paved this way by refusing to listen to our offers. My sister broke down and started crying because there's already too much on her plate. He doesn't get the help that he needs. She does the best that she can, and she didn't need me mum shaming her. I apologize, but I told her there's nothing wrong with him. He already saw a professional. The only help he needs is some discipline. Both my parents sided with my sister, and they're all giving me the cold shoulder. Am I the a-hole? Right, but you're not a parent, are you, OP? But you feel like you can say this about a 5-year-old that sounds like a normal 5-year-old? Yeah, this comment, oh, the overconfident wisdom of 20-year-olds. Yeah, come on. Like the top comment said, I'm sorry, a 5-year-old is acting like a 5-year-old, and you think you have something to say about it. He sleeps with his toys. Oh no. She takes care of his things. How dare she? She listens to him when he speaks. Awful. I told her to tell him to eat or go to bed hungry. Absolutely not. You the a-hole. I'm happily child-free, and you're the type of person that gives us a bad name. Yeah, and also this one. You the a-hole. I get that it's tiring for you to say what you believe are flaws in her parenting, but you aren't a parent, and you're not really qualified to tell her how to do it better. Furthermore, most of the things you mention are not really bad parenting. Washing off rocks that a kid is collecting is not a bad thing, and of itself, it's supporting the child's curiosity and interest in stuff that is probably pretty harmless. It's also controversial at best whether sending a kid to bed without dinner is indeed a good discipline approach. Unfortunately though, while maybe some of what you have to say has merit, most of your input seems off base when it comes to healthy parenting, and your sister does not seem like a bad parent in this write-up. She does seem overwhelmed though, and like she could really use some help, rather than constant criticism and judgment from somebody who has no idea what they're talking about. Yeah, 100%. The next one is called, Am I the a-hole for leaving my kids with my parents for a month prior to summer vacation to support my husband? I, 37 female, have 2 kids from my previous marriage. They're 11 and 8. A few months ago, my current husband started having issues. At the very end of last month, his doctor called and said it was likely a form of cancer. We dropped my kids off with my parents and we went. It was, and he was admitted to start treatments. What was supposed to be 3 to 4 days turned into a month's stay. I asked my ex if he wanted to go stay with the kids at our home, but he said he couldn't take that much time off work and he could only do weekends. So my kids stayed with my parents and I could be there for my husband and give him support that he needed, and what care I could given the circumstance. When he could have visitors, my in-laws brought my kids twice to visit. The second time they didn't speak to anybody and wanted to sit outside of the room. Thursday was their last day of school, and per custody arrangement they had to be with their father starting yesterday. Normally my ex and I meet halfway since it's a 5-hour drive, but this time I asked him to come pick them up. He did, and I asked him to bring the kids by the hospital so I could see them before they go. He called and told me the kids didn't want to see me. I didn't believe that because my kids love me and handoffs have never been an issue. I insisted. He brought the kids, but they wouldn't get out of the car no matter how many times I asked them, and even told them to. I looked to my ex for backup, but he wasn't going to force them. He told me he understands I have a lot going on and my husband needs me, but our kids kids needed me too, that if he was able to leave his girlfriend 3 weekends in a row to be with our kids, I should have been able to show up at least 1 day a week. I've been texting and calling my ex since yesterday to have him put the kids on the phone and pass on my messages, but he says they still don't want to talk to me. I thought I was doing the right thing and that my kids would understand, but was I wrong for leaving them with my parents this whole time? Edit to add, the hospital is an hour away from where we live. Edit to add number 2. I did tell my kids what was going on. I talked to them daily via the phone and did video calls with them. Sometimes we both did while I sat with him during his treatment, and we all watched a movie together during the evening via a phone call. So, were you staying at your house the whole time? Yeah, like this comment says, so the hour drive to the hospital is too far to commute, but it's not too far to have your ex bring the kids by halfway through his 10-hour trip to retrieve them. Yeah, I'm very sorry that you're going through all of this, but you the a-hole. Yeah, and this one too, you the a-hole. Your husband was in the hospital with doctors and nurses to manage his care. There's absolutely no reason at all you could not have gone to see your children pretty frequently, especially when by your own admission, it was an hour from the hospital to your parents' house. Yeah, that's wild. I don't understand why you just abandoned the kids. Yeah, this comment too, you the a-hole, and this is just based off your comments. Number 1, you left your kids for a whole month barely visiting them. Number 2, the hospital was only an hour away, and you could have easily made the trip back home on Friday and leave on Sunday evening so you could spend time with your kids. And your husband is an inpatient at the hospital, therefore he has professionals at all times to help with him, whatever he needs. Plus he's a grown adult, so frankly, I don't understand why you need to be there 24/7. If you left him for 48 hours, there's such thing as a phone. Technology has come a long way so you could video chat. It's sad that your husband is going through this, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you effectively drop everything in your life. Your kids, you should talk to your ex about meeting your kids in person so you can apologize sincerely, because they definitely need one. Yeah, for sure, that one's so confusing. I don't understand why you wouldn't go and visit them, like even once. And yeah, given what we read, you the a-hole. The next one is called, am I the a-hole for making fun of my wife's $7 coffee purchase? My wife struggles a lot with spending money on herself. She has immense guilt about it, and it hasn't been until recently that she feels a little bit more comfortable buying herself new underwear, bras and clothes and makeup. Still, I have to plan our family vacations because the thought of spending money gives her great anxiety. We're upper middle class and we have enough money. The other day I noticed a transaction come through on our shared credit card while my wife was at work. It was for Starbucks and it was over $7. I texted her immediately to see if it was her, as I thought it may have been fraudulent activity since she so rarely goes to Starbucks or anywhere like that. There was a Starbucks in the same building as her work. She's worked there for over 2 years and she's never bought anything from the Starbucks there. She always packs her lunch and brings her own coffee. The next morning I made fun of the price of the coffee. I said sarcastically, I hope that was a really good coffee for $7. I saw her expression change and tried to give her a side hug. She got really quiet and looked sad. She took our kids to school and then texted me from the gym afterwards, explaining that she only went because her friends had invited her. She also pointed out that my cans of tobacco chew are more than $7 and that I get several each week. She then did the math and figured that I spend over $700 on chew a year. I apologized via a text. She got home and seemed aloof, so I apologized in person. This is a huge improvement from where I was at the beginning of our relationship. Before, I'd get super angry with her for even becoming upset in the first place. She acknowledged that me apologizing was an improvement, but she told me that she's still very upset and hurt. It's been almost 2 days and she's still sad and barely talks to me. Am I the a-hole here? Yeah, I don't understand why you wouldn't be more supportive, OP. Like, knowing the information that you do know about your partner, why would you make fun of the price of the coffee? If anything, you should have done the opposite. I feel like you should have encouraged her to do stuff like that more often, not make her feel even worse about it than she probably already does. Yeah, like this comment says, you're the a-hole. I'm sad for your wife. I also have money anxiety, and if I make a purchase I wouldn't normally make, my boyfriend will say stuff like, good for you, treat yourself, you deserve it, you can more than afford it, not make fun of me and make me feel guilty. Also, you used to get mad at her for getting upset? What the hell? Yeah, making her feel guilty was not the right approach, OP. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife to get over my sister wearing white to our wedding? My wife, 27 female, and I, 28 male, got married last year. We had a great wedding, a great honeymoon, and everything went great. However, my sister wore a whitish dress to the wedding, and my wife was not very happy about it, but regardless, we had a blast. It didn't really bother me that my sister wore that dress. Yeah, it was whitish and really pretty, but she was in no way stealing the thunder from my wife. My wife looked amazing and gorgeous that night wearing her bridal gown. However, it's been a year and my wife still harps on about my sister wearing that dress on our wedding night. I've told my wife multiple times to just move on. It wasn't a big deal. We had a great wedding, a great honeymoon. There was no reason to keep on harping on that. Last week, my wife again brought this topic up, and I finally told her that I was tired of her disrespecting my sister time and again, and I wouldn't tolerate it anymore. And if she carried on like this, I would move out temporarily. My wife stopped talking after that. It's been a week and she hasn't brought the topic up since, but it wouldn't be a surprise if she again brings this up again. Was I the a-hole for telling my wife to get over my sister wearing white to our wedding? It's just extremely extremely tiring at this point, especially considering that we had an amazing wedding and I gave her the best honeymoon ever. So what, it's okay for your sister to be disrespectful to your wife, but it's not okay because your wife is somehow disrespecting your sister by being upset about this? Yeah, like you're happy with the wedding and the honeymoon, but it doesn't feel like you're really thinking about it from the perspective of your wife. Like, yeah, okay, you're upset because your wife keeps on bringing it up, but your wife is bringing it up for a reason. Obviously, it was super upsetting to your wife, and it doesn't feel like you're really acknowledging that. Yeah, this comment, honestly, this would be a huge issue for me. The fact that she still talks to your sister is good on her, because I wouldn't. Also, I like how it's okay for your sister to disrespect your wife by wearing white on the wedding day, but she isn't allowed to disrespect your sister by bringing it up to you. And the fact that you told your sister it was okay without even asking your wife is messed up. Right, yeah, okay, because there's a comment here that says, did you ever ask your sister why she would choose to wear whitish to your wedding? And OP responded and said, sure, I mean, we are close. And she asked me before the wedding if she could wear it because she felt really confident and beautiful in it. So I told her to go ahead. Yeah, so your sister is being disrespectful to your wife. And what, that's okay? It is highly well known that you don't wear white to a wedding because the bride is the only one that does. Is there a reason why your sister decided to wear white to your wedding? I'm pretty sure that she knew that it would be highly disrespectful to your wife. So yeah, your wife should have been pissed off. And it's not something that's going to go away, especially since it was your sister of all people who did it. Great wedding and honeymoon or not. Sorry, but that's the truth. Yeah, 100%. The wife is definitely entitled to be upset. And also the bit where OP was threatening to temporarily move out. What's that about? Yeah, of course your sister wearing white to your wedding would upset your wife, OP. And it's also kind of strange how you're not siding with your wife on this. Yeah, wild. The next one is called, Am I the a-hole for going to my child's graduation? My 37 male oldest child graduated high school today. I left the state when she was 3 and her mum was pregnant with our second. To be honest, I wasn't ready for kids at the time and I needed to grow up. I wasn't great about staying in contact early on, but I tried to do better later in life. When she was around 12, I moved back to be near my oldest kids. I'd gotten married and I had 2 little ones, 5 and 3 at the time, so she got to know her half-siblings. My other child was welcoming and wanted to have a relationship with the family. My oldest daughter did not. We tried to make it work, but when she was 15, she sent me a message that essentially boiled down to the fact that she couldn't get past the fact that I left and that I never made an effort to contact her during major events when she was younger, and apparently I was falling short of expectations since coming back as well. Her mum didn't mind if the kids wanted to come to see me and would drive them to me, but she made it clear that I would have to make the effort to invite them. I invited them to the boys' birthdays and I would wish them happy birthday, but I never did ask if they wanted to stay a weekend or anything. She told me that I was treating her like an acquaintance and not a child, and she would rather not know me. She didn't contact me again after that. I would wish her a happy birthday and she wouldn't respond. The few times that we were in the same room because of my other child, she wouldn't acknowledge me. I knew today was graduation for her high school, and since she's my oldest, I went. I went to offer congratulations when she was with her family afterwards, and she told me to leave and ran away crying, causing a bit of a scene. Her grandpa told me that I should have asked her if it was okay for me to go, but honestly, she never responds to me, so I didn't think she would even give me an answer if I would have asked. My wife called me an a-hole and said that's not how I mend a relationship, because now I'll forever be the guy who ruined her graduation. I just wanted to be there since it's a milestone for me as well. My first child graduating, so am I the a-hole? Yeah. You knew that she didn't want you there, and you also knew that if you asked that she would have said no, and at the end there you pretty much said that you were going for you. Yeah, like the top comment says, she's told you that she would rather not have you in her life. If she wanted you at her graduation, she would have asked you to come. She would rather not know you. She would rather you not attend places that she's at, especially at big life events. She wouldn't have given you consent for you to come had you asked, and you know that. She's made it as clear as she can. You're forcing yourself into her life against her will. You think what you want and your experiences matter more than listening to her. You aren't sorry that you weren't there for her. You feel justified in your decisions. That's okay for you, but it hurts her. You didn't care about her when she was younger and her life was harder. She isn't required to forgive you for that now that you've got the family you actually wanted and showed up to rub that in her face. Apologize and tell her that if she is ever willing to forgive you, you would love to get to know her, if that's true, and then leave her alone. She knows how to contact you. You'd the a-hole for turning up at her graduation without even trying to ask her family if they thought it might be okay, because you expected to be told no. Yeah, definitely. And also this comment, you the a-hole, how's it a milestone for you when you did nothing to help her reach that milestone? Somebody else raised her, took her to school, helped her with homework, went to school activities, met with the teachers, spent endless days and nights driving back and forth to and from school, to hospitals when she was sick, to entertain for the days off, etc. But it's your milestone too? No, it's not. It's her milestone, which her mother, I assume, helped her reach. I can bet that her mum was also not ready for 2 kids, but she didn't have an option, and stayed with her kids and raised them good enough that one of them is already graduating, and the other one will be soon. And you celebrate your other kids' birthdays, but to them you wish them happy birthday. So generous generous of you. Don't go overboard with your father's love. You don't want to spoil them. Do her a favor and leave her alone. You did enough already, so don't traumatize her on top of that. The next one is called, am I the a-hole for thinking that my son is too attached to his koala doll? Another sentence I never thought I'd say. My wife and I have 2 sons, a 21-year-old who's in pre-med and a 17-year-old who's graduating from high school this year. My wife works in the Foreign Service while I'm an officer in the Air National Guard. As a result, the boys have learned to become independent starting early in life, and our 17-year-old can actually take care of himself if he has to live by himself for a few weeks, with our relatives checking in every now and then and making sure that he's safe. We have so many wonderful memories of raising our sons, and they've grown up to become upstanding, decent young men, but we regret not spending more time with them. Our youngest is particularly attached to this stuffed koala toy that we bought for him back when he was 4 years old. Sometimes when he would come home from school, his mum and I would still be at work, so the koala would be his unofficial greeter. I think it's cute, but it's also infantile and childish. Then again, our youngest is just a normal 17-year-old teenager, 99.999% of the time, so we let him indulge in it. This past March break, we momentarily lost the koala toy. We did eventually find it, thankfully. We had no idea where it went, and since it was so sentimental, we were all a little bit sad. Our son spent days searching our entire house trying to find it, but he couldn't, and he actually cried a lot. About a week after we came back from our vacation, I finally told him to try and move on. In response, he lashed out at me and my wife, and he explained that to him, this was a bigger issue than just the koala toy. He ranted about how his independence and ability to take care of himself came at a pretty high price. His mum and I are aware of this. I feel like it doesn't befit my son, a nearly 18-year-old young man who's about to start college, to shed tears about a stuffed toy. Am I the a-hole? Just a quick edit because I don't like the insinuations that people are making that I hid the koala away from my son. It turned out that our son had just left the koala back at our vacation house. That's why he couldn't find it at our house despite searching everywhere. Yeah, but I mean, like, you ended this post by saying, I feel like it doesn't befit my son, a nearly 18-year-old young man who's about to start college, to shed tears about a stuffed toy, when they even told you, OP, that it's not about the stuffed toy, it's about more than that. Like, you know that it's not just about the koala. Yeah, the top comment. Let me rephrase this so you can come to your own conclusions. Due to my wife and I's career ambitions, I did not have sufficient time to spend with my son, and he grew attached to a koala as a mechanism to deal with my absence. We lost it and he got sad. I don't think he should have gotten sad, so I told him to not be sad, because that's how emotions work. He told me that I was being insensitive. Am I the a-hole? Yeah, and the comment under that is so good. Generally, by the time that you're real, most of your hair has been loved off, and your eyes drop out and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. This is a quote from the Velveteen Rabbit, I think. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand. You the a-hole, just because you don't understand does not make your son's feelings invalid. Have a heart, get some empathy. Yeah, that's such a good comment, and definitely be empathetic here, OP. And this comment too, you the a-hole, that koala is not just a toy, but a constant from your son's childhood. He can clearly function perfectly well without it, but it symbolizes something far more than you'll understand. My parents threw away a sentimental item from my childhood when I was 6 years old, and I didn't realize how much of an impact it had on me until I was 15, and I was writing about it for a school essay. In short, it's not the physical item, it's the stability of always having it there that upset your son when it went missing, and you failing to recognize that is what makes you the a-hole. Yeah, that's right, it helped your son cope when you weren't there, OP. That's what it's about, OP. It's more than him being upset about a toy. The next one is called, am I the a-hole for telling my wife that she needs to stop grieving? Yeah, probably. My wife, 40 female's father, 67 male, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 3 years ago and rapidly declined. He's now in a home and not verbal and non-responsive. Obviously, this has devastated the family. Unfortunately, early last year, her mother, 66 female, suffered a mental breakdown, and after investigation, the doctors have diagnosed her with dementia too. We have 3 children, 20 male, 15 male, and 13 male. My wife is still working full-time and looking after the house and our children, cooking and spending time with them. However, she has lost enthusiasm for being active at the weekends. I want us to be going out and doing things at the weekend, but my wife tends to want to spend time relaxing and reading and painting. This has gone on for 3 years with limited proactive action from my wife to instigate family trips. I have spoken to my wife about this, but she says that she isn't ready and says that she needs some peace in her life. I feel that it's gone on long enough, and I've told her I think it's time for her to accept what happened and to start living normally again. Am I the a-hole? Oh god, yeah. What are you doing to help, OP? And what, time for her to accept what happened and start living normally again? And as in what, pretend nothing happened and go back to normal so that you'll be happy? Yeah, the top comment, info, what have you been doing to support your wife? Have you been encouraging her to seek therapy or grief counseling? I know her parents haven't passed yet, but my grandmother has Alzheimer's, and while her heart is still beating and lungs are still breathing, the person that was my grandmother died years ago. It's a really hard thing to accept. Have you offered to help more with the children and the housework? Not gonna lie, this entire post seems seems like you whining that your wife is juggling being a wife and a mum and watching her parents die in real time, and you're sad that she won't plan a weekend trip for you to enjoy? Yeah, like that bit where it said she hasn't been instigating family trips. Why does your wife have to do that, OP? Yeah, and also this comment. Not only does the post not indicate OP helping, but it sounds like OP is upset at wife for not taking on the additional work of planning the decide out of house stuff that she doesn't want to do. Limited proactive action from my wife to instigate family trips, i.e., honey, I'm bored and I know you're overwhelmed, or I would know if I cared, but I still want you to plan us some fun because that's what's important to me. Yeah, and on top of that, to have the audacity to feel like you get to say, oh, well, I feel like you should be done grieving. That's absolutely wild. Your wife is dealing with something awful, watching both of her parents like slowly disappear. Yeah, wow, that one is so bad. Am I the a-hole for telling a friend that they aren't attractive enough for SoCal? Oh my god, what are we even reading? I, 19 female, am good friends with Emily, 20 female since high school. Emily wants to move to South California. Apparently she has enough to move there. Unfortunately, South California is basically home to a bunch of attractive women. If you aren't attractive in SoCal, then you aren't necessarily gonna fit in. Oh god, this is so bad already. Emily is very pudgy and has dry skin, so I told her to be very careful about bullying because South California is full of attractive women and there are a dime a dozen there. Even I'm conventionally attractive and I probably don't match up to their standards. It's just how it is. She responded by calling me a shallow a-hole and saying that I'm looking too deep into things. Now she's been struggling to talk to me. Am I the a-hole? Struggling to talk to me? I feel like they probably don't want to talk to you. Are you joking? There's no way that you aren't the a-hole in this OP. And yeah, it is so unbelievably shallow. The friend is right. Yeah, the top comment, what the hell? You the a-hole. There's no way to frame this where you aren't unnecessarily insulting and body shaming her. Your pudgy friend with dry skin can live wherever the hell she wants. Hopefully she does move to SoCal and ditches her very giant a-hole friend. Am I the a-hole for joking with my wife about not being ready for sundress season? Oh, come on, do we ever need to read that? She overheard me and my friends joking around when we were playing video games. I joked that I can't wait for sundress season to be here. After they left, she told me to take her shopping. I asked her why, and she said to buy her a sundress because it's almost sundress season. I jokingly said that she wasn't ready, and she was offended by it. Not much else to say other than if I'm the a-hole for cracking a joke at that, because she's made a bigger deal out of it than what I thought. For the record, my wife is probably overweight, but I'm not an idiot and I didn't tell her that. What do you mean? Yeah, you did. And what, you're excited for sundress season, but what, not your wife in a sundress? So what, you're excited to see other women in sundresses? Come on, how could you not be in the wrong? Yeah, like this comment says, you the a-hole for 2 reasons. Number 1, you're excited about sundress season to check out women that are not your wife. Number 2, you told your wife that she isn't ready for sundress season, implying that she's fat and making her feel insecure about her body. And bonus 3, you actually typed this out thinking that you were somehow not being a total a-hole. Yeah, how's that even real? Like, how was your wife meant to feel about that, besides awful? Like, there's no way you could have been in the right in this situation, and to jokingly say that she wasn't ready? Where's the joke in that? Like, oh yeah, it's so funny when I tease my wife for being overweight. That's not a joke, and it's not funny. Okay, moving on from that unbelievable post. The next post is called, Am I the a-hole for wearing white to my lesbian friend's wedding? Hey guys, I'm a bit torn up right now as my friend is very upset at me, yet I feel as though I did nothing wrong. I'm using a throwaway account as almost all parties use Reddit, fake names for privacy. For a bit of context, I, female 27, met my best friend Grace, female 25, in high school. We went to college together and we shared a dorm with this other girl, Sarah, female 25, who Grace suggested. 2 years into college, Grace comes to me in private and said that she had something to tell me and hoped that I wouldn't judge her. She was into women and her and Sarah had been dating for over 3 years. I was a bit shocked considering that we tell each other everything, but I fully supported her and her girlfriend. About a year ago, Grace wanted to propose to Sarah and I helped with everything. It was so cute and Sarah said yes, though through the planning I kept asking Grace who her maid of honor was, and she kept on dodging the question. Turns out Sarah didn't want me in the wedding at all. I was so crushed because I thought that not only was I Grace's best friend, but Sarah's friend too. Grace told me that I wouldn't fit Sarah's aesthetics that she had planned, and I wasn't allowed in. I asked what that meant, and Grace said that Sarah wanted the wedding party to dress more masculine, and I was too feminine to fit in. To make it up to me, Grace said that if I wasn't in the wedding party, I would be allowed to dress as fancy as I wanted. I was really sad, but I accepted their wishes. I spent the next while looking for a dress best to wear and I found an absolutely beautiful dress. I loved it and I showed Grace and she did too. The only problem I didn't realize until it was time to order was it only came in white. I had my heart set on the dress, and since the bridal party and both brides will be wearing suits, I didn't see a problem with the color. Day of the wedding I got a weird look, but it wasn't a problem until Sarah saw me. She was fuming and wouldn't talk to me and kept Grace away from me. Right before the ceremony, some girl in the bridal party dumped a glass of red wine onto my back. I was upset and I confronted Sarah. I told her what I said above, that they weren't in white dresses, and nowhere did it say not to wear white, and if she really had a problem with it, they could have asked me to leave. There was no reason to be childish and ruin my new expensive dress. She said it was common sense and that I was the childish one for wearing white as retaliation for not being in the bridal party. I said that wasn't it. I was hurt, but I'd never try and get revenge. Grace told me that I could dress up nice like I usually do, and that's what I did. Sarah told me she doesn't want to talk to me and told me to leave before she made me. I told her I would as long as the girl who dumped the wine would pay to clean the dress. She dismissed me and kicked me out. I went home that night and people were blowing up my phone. Many told me that I was a piece of crap for what I did, though I had a few friends reach out to me and say that they understand and thought it was childish to purposely stain the dress instead of talking about it like an adult. Wow, okay. It said in the middle there, I loved it and I showed Grace and she did too. The only problem is I didn't realize until it was time to order was it only came in white. So you got the okay from Grace about the dress, but does that mean that like you saw it in a different color or something and then you realized that it only came in white? Or did you show Grace the white dress and Grace loved it? From how that bit there's written, it sounds like you showed Grace the dress in a different color and Grace loved it and then you realized you could only get it in white. But yeah, the white dress at a wedding thing is definitely common sense. There's a comment here that says you the a-hole. I had my heart set on the dress and since the bridal party and both brides would be wearing suits, I didn't see a problem with the color. You ask, try asking the brides. Yeah, and like this other comment says, I read it as the dress had different color options, but when they went to finally order it, only white was available. Edit to add, I could be wrong here. Yeah, I was thinking that too. I don't know if that is actually what happened, but yeah, why didn't OP confirm the final dress that they were gonna wear with the brides to make sure they were happy? That's why it does seem a-holy, because it seems like they're trying to do it as revenge or something. The top comment says, you the a-hole. I haven't read a red wine meets wedding dress post in a while. It's never a drink with cranberry or orange juice, always red wine. I still don't understand why you thought it would be okay to wear a white dress to a wedding. It's basic, widely understood etiquette. So you decided it was okay to look like a bride at a same-sex wedding between two women because they weren't dressed as traditional brides? It sounds like petty revenge because you were left out of the bridal party. Yeah, it really does. Or what, like it's a really unfortunate, honest mistake? Yeah, I doubt it somehow. Am I the a-hole for remaining positive during my daughter's breakup? My daughter, we'll call her Tina, is 16 years old. Tina and I had a really good relationship when she was growing up, but for the past year or two, we seem to really get on each other's nerves. I don't think it's my behavior that's changed. I think Tina has become a bit of a jerk. Well, earlier today, Tina and I had one of our little disagreements. She'd been dating this guy from her school for a few months. We'll call him Chris. He came and had dinner with us once or twice, and I never really liked him much, but he and Tina seemed happy, so I never said anything. However, when I picked Tina up from school today, her eyes were red and it was obvious that she'd been crying. I asked her what was wrong, but she wouldn't tell me. I gave her a few moments to compose herself and then I asked her again. I was really curious about what happened to her, and many people tell me that I've mastered my emotions well, so the least I can do is help others master theirs as well. I don't feel like that's true. Why would many people tell you that? We went back and forth for several minutes before Tina finally admitted the truth. Chris had dumped her in the cafeteria in front of her friends. Tina had found this very embarrassing, but I was elated. Wow, okay. She now had the opportunity to date somebody who I believed was a better person. Oh God. Do you not care how she feels? I began reminding Tina of the negative things about Chris, his chronic lateness, his lack of tact, his disregard of some of my rules. Oh, this can't be real, can it? Oh, I've mastered my emotions. You have not mastered your emotions. And I expected Tina to forget all about him and snap herself out of it, but instead this only seemed to upset her more. Why would you expect that? Oh, this is so bad. I was confused by her reaction, but I decided that I wasn't going to engage with it. I tried my best to cheer her up, and I only made it worse. Eventually, I just put my hand up and said, I'm unable to help you. I guess you'll have to get over it by yourself. When we got home, she slammed the door to her bedroom shut, and I told my wife everything that happened. I expected my wife to dismiss Tina's outburst and chalk it up to teenage hormones. Nah, this can't be real. You can't actually believe that, OP. But instead, she took Tina's side. She said that my strategy of comforting Tina was callous, and that I should have been acknowledging her pain. I couldn't help but laugh. Nah, this is rage bait. It has to be. Tina has no real responsibilities yet. To say that teenage puppy love is painful when it ends is over the top. I chose not to date until college, but it certainly wasn't because I was afraid of breaking up with somebody. Pretty soon my wife left the room too, and she seemed almost as steamed as Tina. I don't know what more I can do. I just have a different interpretation of what's going on. Yet my wife and daughter are making me out to be some horrible horrible person. No, they're not. Your actions are doing that, OP. I considered calling my mum to ask her opinion, but I'm afraid that I'll be demeaned and insulted once again. I'm just so lost here. Am I the a-hole? Oh my god. What do I even say? Yeah, of course. As soon as I read that giant red flag of a sentence where they said that they'd mastered their emotions, which is a load of crap. That's not something you can master and then be like, oh, okay, I'm perfect with my emotions, and therefore I'm always right and I never have to try. And if you could quote unquote master your emotions, it's not by having no emotions and showing no care like you did in this, and completely dismissing other people's emotions because you think you've mastered yours. The top comment says, my wife and daughter are making me out to be some horrible person. That's what happens when you dismiss your daughter's valid emotions. Did you just gloss over the fact that she was also embarrassed in front of her friends? You were too busy being a giddy jerk only caring about how you felt. I considered calling my mother to ask her opinion, but I'm afraid that I'll be demeaned and insulted once again. Go ahead, go for broke with a 0.3 average and change the title of the post. You weren't remaining positive. You were absolutely giddy. Yeah, and 100% the comment underneath that. You the a-hole. For somebody who has mastered their emotions, you seem pretty clueless as to how they actually work, lol. Yeah, I don't understand how that one's even real. I really don't want it to be real. It hits so many different points to be like a rage bait sort of post, but I feel like it is real. Yeah, super concerning. The next one is called, am I the a-hole because of my new unconventional pet? My housemate, friend, and basically sister has been my brother's best friend since I was 3. Is no longer speaking to me because I brought a giant water bug home, and she said I couldn't keep it, but I kept it anyway because I thought having a little aquarium in my room wouldn't hurt anybody. Right? Wrong. My housemate has a phobia of bugs, particularly flying bugs, that I didn't realize was so intense that she'd forbid me from keeping a bug in a small, secure, nicely decorated tank in my bedroom. But the problem is I'm extremely attached to this bug. His name is Nemo. I found him lost on the sidewalk. Well, bugs don't really get lost, do they? Like, come on, we're already off to a bad start. It was just living its life and then you picked it up. I'm extremely attached to this bug. His name is Nemo. I found him lost on the sidewalk and I had been taking care of him all night before I brought him home. I learnt later that giant water bugs bite really bad, but I'd been carrying him around on my hands and he didn't bite me. And I know it's stupid, but I feel like he chose me. I've been wanting a pet for so long, and setting up Nemo's adorable new aquarium has brought me so much joy. I know he is just a bug, but I'm a highly sensitive and emotional person, and I actually love this bug as if I've just bought a puppy. There are already 2 dogs and a cat in the house, and I just want a pet of my own. In my mind, I can't understand how it's any different to having a fish, and I think it's ridiculous that she would tell me that I'm not allowed a bug. It doesn't make any noise, it barely even moves at all. I've always been sensitive to her phobia. Until what? Bringing a bug into the house? I know it's serious, and I always rescue her when moths get into the house, and I empathize when she comes home from work with stories about bugs that scared her. I really had no idea the bugs would still be so scary when locked in a pretty little tank. I've tried to apologize for upsetting her, but she ignored me and walked away. She wants me to get rid of the bug, but I can't because he's my son. Am I the a-hole? We're both autistic if that matters. Edit, there's a photo on my profile for those interested. Please stop telling me to let it go. I've been very clear that's not an option. I love him. I'm gonna talk to my boss about keeping him on my office desk or perhaps just move out. I don't really want to live somewhere I can't have pet bugs anyway. I've decided I'm gonna talk to her and help her understand how much I love Nemo. I think if she knew he's more than just a random bug to me, she wouldn't mind me keeping him. Okay, but how is this fair on Nemo? So I think it's like a water cockroach or something. There are a lot of people in the comments saying that it's not even gonna live long. And yeah, this can't be good for the bug either, can it? There's a comment here that says, no, you aren't sensitive to her phobia, as per your entire post describing how insensitive you're being to her phobia. And OP said, maybe me and Nemo will just have to move out. And there is a photo of it here. And there's a comment right under that one that says, I had to Google giant water bug to figure out what you're referring to. You're so in love with this insect that you disturbed its life to place it in captivity of a tiny container. You the a-hole. It has a lifespan of a year, that's it. You're preventing her cycle of reproduction, laying eggs before dying, or if it's a male, caring for his young. Not only are you killing years of friendship, you say that you're willing to move out for it. For an insect that has already lived at least 30% of its life. Seriously nuts, let it free and stop being selfish. Yeah, and to start the post by saying my housemate, friend, and basically sister, but putting a bug over them even though you said they're pretty much your sister. Yeah, as soon as they said they found a lost bug, like they don't get lost. You're just taking a bug. Like this comment said, you didn't rescue it. You found a bug outside and you brought it inside, removing it from its familiar environment. I understand that you're very attached to it, but if you actually do care about the bug and your friend, the best thing to do is to release it near a lake or something. Keeping it in a tiny aquarium as opposed to what it's been used to is extremely selfish and possessive. You want to keep this bug and you're willing to sacrifice the mental well-being of your quote-unquote sister for it. Do the right thing and release it. The next one is called, am I the a-hole for booking one cruise room for my fiance and I and my parents? I never thought I might have to post here, but I may have messed up. I, 27 male, wanted to book a 3-night cruise for my fiance, female 24, and my parents, 50 plus. I discussed booking a room together with the 4 of us as a group, but did not discuss it privately with my fiance. Everyone seemed in agreement, so I booked all of us together with the reasoning that it would save us a lot of money. My fiance and I make good money, but I wanted the cruise to be financially doable for my parents. My fiance, a week after now, told me that she feels uncomfortable sleeping in a room with my parents. They'll have a queen bed and she'll be on a bunk bed and I'll be on a couch bed. I told her it's too late to change now as I paid the full payment and I locked us into that room. She wanted me to book us another room, but I told her that I don't feel like that's an option because it looks like that'll cost us like $1,000 plus just to change to the lowest quality room when our original fare was $250 a person. I said that in my opinion, you don't spend too much time in your room except to sleep, so it wouldn't be as bad as she thinks. My family is used to sleeping all in the same room to save money, while her family does not have the same experience. So Reddit, am I the gay hole? Edit, thanks yo, I got us a second room. Okay, so that's good. But yeah, of course that wasn't the right idea. That sounded bloody awful. And to not discuss it privately with your fiance first, but then to be annoyed that your fiance doesn't like this arrangement. Yeah, I'm so happy that you did get a second room, OP. Yeah, like the top comment says, you the gay hole, this sounds like my idea of hell. What a romantic cruise with your fiance on a bunk bed, you on the sofa, and your parents getting it on in the main bed. Oh, I don't even want to imagine that. All in a tiny cabin. Delightful. Why on earth didn't you talk this through with her? You said everybody seemed in agreement without actually asking her one-to-one if she was okay with it. I personally would be mortified if I had to share a cabin on a bunk bed with my in-laws. I think I'd probably get a cabin of my own or just skip the trip. Yeah, 1,000,000%. And I'm so happy you listened to the comments, OP. So am I the gay hole for telling my tenant that she's nasty and being angry that I was given no notice? I've got a home that I rent rooms out in and my tenants generally live in the rooms for the remainder of their lease. Sometimes they do break their lease and as a landlord I'm usually upset when they do because it leaves no time for me to rent to a new tenant and the rooms could be empty for months, which would cost us lots of money to be lost. In our home, our roommates do cleaning once a month for the bathroom since it is shared, and I have my tenant who hasn't cleaned it not once this month. She cleaned it last month but not this month. We asked her to clean it and she said that she would when she got off work. However, she never did. She just showered and went to bed. This morning, my tenant was bringing all of her belongings downstairs into a truck, and I realized that she was moving. She gave us no notice at all since she said that she didn't want tension. She also said that her lease ends today, so she has the right to leave manatee nothing. What are you talking about manatees for? Was that a really funny autocorrect? Wow, that's so funny. I love manatees. She was saying that her lease ends today, so she has the right to leave mainly nothing since she paid her month's rent. She also stated that she didn't need to pay back the deposit that we agreed to use towards rent. I argued with her and I told her that she's practically nasty. She left curly hairs in the shared bathroom and the bathroom trash was full of tissue. She said that I would always turn down the TV when she talks on the phone, that I eavesdrop on her conversations, that I have too many rules like requiring room checks for cleaning or requiring that she doesn't do laundry past a certain time. I personally feel that I should have been given notice and also that the bathroom should have been cleaned whether it was her last day or not. Am I the gay hole? Right, so you're saying that she gave you no notice, but in the very same sentence you said that her lease was ending today. So what, you didn't know the lease was ending? Yeah, like this comment says, that I have too many rules like requiring room checks. Yeah, you the a-hole. No big surprise that somebody wouldn't want to tell you that they're leaving when you'd be angry and probably treat them even more weirdly during the notice period. Yeah, for sure, it definitely makes sense that they didn't want to tell OP. And also the top comment, yeah, you the a-hole, because you were given notice. Her lease ends that day, so you knew the lease was ending. She didn't try to renew the lease and you didn't do any follow-up. Why is she paying back a deposit if she paid a deposit? If the deposit was used for rent, then that means that you don't have to pay back the deposit. You're the landlord. A deposit is something you pay the tenant back when they move out, provided they haven't damaged the property above the amount of the deposit. Also, requiring room checks for cleaning or requiring that she doesn't do laundry past a certain time. What the hell? Get out of here with that BS. They're adult paying tenants. Unless it's causing an actual health hazard, you don't get to just tell them they need to clean their rooms. Yeah, that's so wild. And also this comment, probably the most important comment here. Info. Why drag an innocent manatee into this mess? Yeah, come on. What did the manatees do? Oh, they left the rubbish bin full of tissues and they did laundry a little bit too late. Okay, the next one is called Am I the gay hole for being honest to my brother about why he's being excluded? My 34 female, brother 26 male, told me that he's upset because he feels like everybody ignores him and excludes him out of things. He told me that nobody ever invites him to any events. He said nobody calls or texts him. He was upset that he found out that all of our siblings have have a group chat and that he's not a part of it. He also told me at work how some of his colleagues ignore him and don't invite him out to events outside of work hours. I had to be honest to my brother about why he's in this position. I basically told him that he's essentially excluding himself and that his behavior is the reason why he's being left out. He spends the majority of his free time in his room on the laptop. He hardly leaves the house besides going to work. He doesn't have any other hobbies or interests. He doesn't make an effort himself to engage with people and reach out to people. He isolates himself from everybody. I told him that you can't expect people to include you and reach out to you when you hide in your room all day and you don't make an effort yourself to engage with people. My brother got upset when I told him this, but I felt like he needed to hear it because it's the truth. Yeah, like I can sort of see where you're coming from, OP, but I don't think you did it the right way. And also, what do you mean he's not in the group chat? What's that about? Why is he not in the group chat? And also, this entire interaction where he's telling you that he's upset, how is that not him reaching out to you? Yeah, like this comment says, you the yay-hole. While I understand what you're trying to say here, and that it is true that social interactions do require reciprocity, I think you picked the most a-hole way to go about communicating this, and excluding him from the group chat was unnecessary and hurtful, when having him in it was not causing an issue, unless you feel inactivity is somehow an inexcusable offense. I'm not here to play armchair psych, but have you ever considered that maybe your brother is struggling with his mental health? I know a lot of people who have done this because they're deeply depressed or struggling with a lot of social anxiety. It's so hard to climb out of that when you fall into this kind of routine of being isolated and you don't know how to get your social footing back. I don't think the solution to him being withdrawn is to slam the door on him to teach him a lesson. I'm concerned that it's only going to make him even more reclusive and feel even more unwanted. I feel like there were better ways to go about the discussion. Yeah, and also I feel like it's missing a lot of information, like why is he not in the group chat? Yeah, and also this comment, you the a-hole, you say that he doesn't make an effort to reach out. What the hell is he doing when he tells you that he feels excluded then? You know, like for all we know, the family is awful and mean or something. Like there's a lot of information that isn't here. And like, yeah, of course, if he wants to maintain friendships and stuff, he 100% has to put effort in. I feel like that's pretty obvious. But the thing about this post is, it seems like OP and the family are kind of mean. Yeah, like this comment, none of the reasons you listed is enough for him to be ostracized by people, especially family. Why the hell is he not in the family group chat? That's ridiculous, and y'all aren't the a-holes for that. Does he ever make attempts to be sociable? He sounds like an introvert or somebody with social anxiety. And there's a comment under that one that says, in a comment above, OP says that brother was in the group chat, and they made a new group chat without the brother because the brother didn't participate enough to please the siblings. They're all wildly the a-hole. Yeah, right, there's a comment here from OP that said we had a group chat before, but he was never active in it. Yeah, like the comment under that says, but why make a new one? It's fair to point out that he doesn't involve himself, but remaking one to exclude him is crappy too. Yeah, I feel like there's way more to this than what OP's saying. Okay, the next one is called, am I the a-hole for kicking my son out of my house after he said bad things about me to his friends? I, 40 male, have a son, 18 male, who was accepted to college. I was so happy because I didn't have that opportunity. I dropped out of school to help my family of 8 siblings. Today, I work in a managerial position without a diploma. When my son got accepted, I asked him to gather the necessary documents for his college registration. Since I'm not tech savvy, I asked an employee to help with the registration. My son kept on making excuses about the documents, saying that some could only be obtained online. On the last day for registration, he gave me the documents, but the college website wouldn't accept the login credentials. I tried calling him, but he didn't answer. When I got home, he confessed that he hadn't been accepted and had lied to me out of fear. I felt deeply disappointed. I'd been telling everybody about his acceptance, and I'd been working overtime to buy him a car as a gift. In anger, I told him he was a disappointment, which I regret saying. The next day, I wanted to apologize and discuss his future options, but he was out with friends. I used our shared computer and I found a conversation where he and his friends insulted me and called his friends his real family. It seemed like he left the computer on for me to see it. When he got home, I yelled at him and I told him he had until the end of the year to get a job and move out. He cried, saying I was overreacting, but I stood firm. Now his grandparents are arguing with me to change my mind, but I feel justified. I've always tried to be a good father, and this betrayal hurts deeply. So am I the a-hole? Oh my god, imagine how it feels to be called a disappointment. I don't understand why you feel like this was the right way to handle it, OP. And also, the son said that he didn't tell his dad out of fear. So what does the dad do? He yells at him and threatens to kick him out. That's not the right way to handle that. The top comment says, you the a-hole, don't ask later on, why doesn't my son talk to me anymore? This is the reason. If my child ever told me she was scared to tell me something, I'd be falling over myself trying to make it up to her, not kick her out. You betrayed the love that your son has had for you. Do better as a dad. And the comment under that says, exactly, his son needs support. And OP instead is taking everything personally like he's the main character. Yeah, and the comment under that one too. You the a-hole, you might want to ask yourself why he was afraid to share him not being accepted with you. Calling him a disappointment only piled more of that feeling onto him. You read a private conversation and you didn't didn't like what you saw. That's on you. You shouldn't have read it. Kids mouth off to friends all the time, just like adults do. You may have found awful things said to others, but you said awful things to his face. And yet the son lied about getting accepted, but he lied about getting accepted out of fear. Like, come on, OP, that's so sad. In a situation like this where your child lied out of fear that you'd be disappointed, that's when you be supportive, not actually say, oh, I'm disappointed in you. No, that's not even what they said, is it? They said they are a disappointment. Like, I feel like that's the opposite of how you're meant to react in that situation. There's a comment here that said, you just keep on making the same mistake over and over. He's so afraid of disappointing you that he makes up a ridiculous lie that he had to know would eventually be found out. And then, instead of apologizing for making him think that you'd be disappointed, you literally tell him how disappointed you are in him. Then, when he feels like you're rejecting him and tells his friends that at least he'll have them as family, you literally reject him and kick him out, or threaten to kick him out. Instead of ever asking yourself what you can do to make sure your son feels more secure and confident, you attack him. Yeah, you the a-hole. Yeah, that's such a good comment. And also this one, you the a-hole. With your first reactions being to tell him that he was a disappointment, it becomes pretty clear why he was afraid to tell you the truth. In other words, you phrased him in such a way that he's afraid to share with you when something goes wrong, or when he achieves a bad result in something. So this is probably in line with how you usually respond to such things to begin with. I wouldn't even be surprised if the things he told his friends were eventually caused by your behavior towards him as well. You then telling him he effectively has until the end of the year before you abandon him just compounds your earlier mistakes. You really like doubling down on your mistakes, don't you? Yeah, not good. The next one is called, am I the a-hole because I took all the leftovers home after a work party? I've worked at this company for 3 years. My 3-year anniversary landed on the same day of my significant other proposing. And to top it off, I'm getting promoted. I was expecting at least something from my co-workers, like a small party or a gift or nothing fancy. I was pretty hurt when I came in that week to find nothing. There were congrats and well dones, but nothing else. I cried my eyes out later to my significant other and I expressed how uncared about I felt. He contacted one of my co-workers, soon to be an employee, and she went to my manager and set something up. They had a little buffet in the break room, just common stuff like a veggie platter and dips and chips and sweets and cookies and tarts and brownies and some banners. At the end of the day, I took the leftovers home with me on the plates and Tupperware that they came in on. The co-worker, again my soon-to-be employee, texted me that next day asking if I took the sweets that she made along with the plates. I said yeah, and she got super hostile. Yeah, why would you take them, OP? Apparently she wanted to keep those in the break room for those unable to attend the party, so they could still eat, and nowhere did it say that this was all for me. Yeah, I don't know why you assumed it was all for you, OP. She also needed the platter plate back because she was making a birthday cake for her niece. Yeah, that makes sense. My significant other and I both agreed that it was wrong for her to text me like that. No, it wasn't. And seeing as it was my party, if I wanted the leftovers, I deserved them. Oh, you're so entitled, OP. But he thinks I should apologize to keep the peace. No, you should apologize because you're wrong and you're being entitled. If I'm not wrong, I don't see the point. Update, stop saying that I forced my significant other to contact my co-worker. That was his own choice and never once did I imply I improved or wanted him to do that. I only took the Tupperware because I had nothing else to carry the leftovers in. I try to make all of my employees feel special and celebrate their achievements, so I had more expectations out of them than I should have. That was my mistake. Oh, OP, this is so entitled. Like, why did you feel like you deserved this and expected this anyway? It all comes off so ungrateful. Yeah, the top comment, you the a-hole, you don't deserve anything. No wonder nobody organized anything. You sound incredibly entitled. Edit, and to add further, OP, you really need to change your attitude if you're going to manage people. Edit number 2, OP, I'm glad you created a burner account because you're getting roasted here. I'm going to level with you. I don't believe your update. I don't think you do anything special for your co-workers. I've worked at places where somebody who did what you claimed you do got promoted. We had a small party for them without needing a prompt from their significant other to call in. The fact that you felt like it was acceptable to take home all the leftovers, that's massively entitled on its own. You then took somebody else's property with it. I can't stress how wrong you are to do any of this. Yeah, the taking it home is so wild. Like, oh yeah, I deserve them. Come on. No, you don't. And yeah, you're literally taking their containers. And this comment too, laughing my ass off. You deserve the leftovers. No, you don't. And why do you expect anything material? A congrats should have been enough in my opinion. So yeah, you the a-hole. And an entitled one, I must say. Yeah, that's what I was thinking immediately when they said that everybody was saying congratulations and stuff. Like, that's even nice that people were doing that. But to cry your eyes out because people only said congratulations and there wasn't like some big party or something, that's so unbelievably entitled. And this comment too, you the a-hole, how old are you? Your co-workers are soon to be employees, as you put it. Yeah, that's another thing. They kept on saying that, like, you're about to be my employee. Do not owe you a party because you worked at a company for 3 years, or the fact that you got promoted, or the fact that you got engaged, period. It's something that co-workers do if they feel like it, and not because because they feel obligated to. The fact that none of them wanted to until you cried to your boyfriend speaks volumes of how they actually feel about you on an interpersonal level. You might want that to sink in for a bit. And also, office etiquette is if there's any leftovers, you leave them at the office so that anybody who wasn't able to attend gets some as well. And to take the containers and the plates as well makes you an even bigger a-hole. Yeah, I can't get over that. So entitled. Yeah, I'm kind of shocked. That was so bad. The next one is called Am I the a-hole for not accepting my dad's bribe? About 4 weeks ago, my male 17, older sister Sarah, female 21, had to empty out her apartment and move all her things back home. Her rent had increased a lot and her landlord was slow in making repairs. Our parents, male 53 and female 52, offered to store most of her stuff in our basement until she finds a new place to live in for when she starts school again in the fall. Our house's basement has kind of been my personal space where I usually hang out with my friends or play video games. However, Sarah's things are taking up nearly all the space and there's no longer any space for me and my buddies. I understand she's in a tough spot, but I'm becoming more annoyed with this. Yesterday evening, I sat down with my dad and I told him that I needed some space in the basement. My dad listened and said that he acknowledged my situation. He said that he understood the inconvenience, but kept on mentioning that Sarah was in a tough spot and that the arrangement was temporary. When I pointed out it's been 4 weeks, he again asked for my patience. When I tried to continue the conversation, my dad interrupted me. He suggested that he could pay me rent for the basement and allow Sarah's stuff to stay there. He started pulling out his wallet and everything. I was annoyed by this as I thought that he was being dismissive and I refused his offer. My dad was pretty surprised by this and rescinded his offer and apologized for not fully listening to me. He then said that he was serious about paying me for the remaining time that the basement was being occupied, but I yelled at him saying that he had completely missed what I was telling him. He got frustrated and said that I needed to be more empathetic. When I tried to speak up again, he told me that there was no longer anything to discuss. Am I the a-hole? Update for those wondering. Yeah, I've got my own room, but it isn't nearly as spacious as the basement. Anyway, I mentioned my irritation with the situation to my mum this evening, as I don't think my dad will be receptive to it anymore. Oh, this is another entitled one. Come on, OP. Yeah, you do need to be empathetic. And she thinks I'm being unfair. She said, while she does understand that I'm upset, this was the only tenable solution and that I had to be more accommodating, and how I have other options for space. She even said that right now Sarah's need for that space trumps yours. Yeah, it does, OP. I wanted to press the issue further, but my mum started giving me her "you're in trouble if you keep talking" face, so I decided to drop it. I understand that Sarah's in a tough spot, but I can't help but feel that I'm being overlooked and ignored by my parents. Yeah, but you even said that you've got your own room, OP. You're talking about a basement that you hang out in. Obviously, you've been enjoying the space. It's completely fair that Sarah uses it, especially when she's in a hard spot. So entitled, like the last one that we read. Yeah, this comment, you the a-hole, you're lucky he even offered you compensation for not being able to access a room that he owns. Yeah, that's so wild. I would have told you tough luck. Stop acting so entitled and realize that the world doesn't revolve around your wants. Yeah, and that's how the post reads too. Like OP genuinely feels like the world does revolve around their wants. And yeah, that was so generous of the dad to even offer that. And the comment under that one too. You the a-hole 100%, my guy. You don't have to pay rent. You have no idea how the real world works and it's so obvious. I'm 20 and I still live with my parents because rent is so tough. However, if one of my siblings needed to store their stuff in my personal room, no matter how much I hated it, I'd let them and we'd work it out. This isn't even your room, it's the basement. You don't pay rent, bud. It's not your house. Your father is an incredible man for being so patient. This isn't your house. You and your buddies can find a new place. Figure it out. Show some love towards your sister. She's your damn sister. You should be ashamed for acting like this. You the a-hole 100%. Yeah, definitely. I don't feel like there's much more to that one. Am I the a-hole for asking my daughter to share her money? I have 4 daughters, 29 female, 23 female, 16 female, and 15 female. My oldest works a good job and does side hustles, so she does make really good money for her age. My 23-year-old chose not to go to college. She didn't want to have to do chores and other work at home. She moved out last year and we gave her $25,000, which was her college fund. Unfortunately, rent costs a lot here, so we do have to help out with food and water and expenses pretty often. The 25 grand was gone in a year. We have to spend lots of money on her so she can afford her life as she doesn't really want to work. My husband isn't able to work much anymore due to health issues, and with my income alone, I can no longer afford to support my 23-year-old with my salary. My oldest daughter lives in a pretty rich state and makes quite over $100,000 per year, although she lives in a pretty high cost of living spot. This is more than what I make, so I asked my eldest if she could give some money to support her sister. She doesn't want to, as it'll be expensive, and she wants to save on a house, but I really wanted to, as it'll help her sister a lot. My older daughter told me to tell my youngest to work and not freeload off everybody else. I told her she was being selfish and I asked her to pay at least $2,000 a year, and I'd asked my 23-year-old to get a part-time job and she still refused. I think it's selfish of her to put buying a house over helping her sister. She says that she'll be willing to help her sister look for a job and to give her $500 a month, not anything more than that. I did ask for my daughter to get a part-time job, but she doesn't want to. Now my oldest is upset that I'm trying to use her and that I'm spoiling my 23-year-old because she had to work and she had to go to college, but I told her I changed my parenting style. She's still upset, so am I the a-hole? Wait a second, so your 23-year-old daughter doesn't want to work, and because you can't support her to not work, you feel like it's your other daughter's responsibility to pay for her to not work? Nah, OP. If your youngest daughter doesn't want to work, your youngest daughter needs to figure that out. It doesn't become everybody else's job to pay for their lifestyle. Yeah, the top comment, you the a-hole, you have zero obligation to support your adult children, and also your adult children have zero obligation to support their siblings. We have to spend lots of money on her so she can afford her life as she doesn't really want to work. Well, then if your daughter doesn't really want to work, she can call social services and get a list of shelters and stuff. This is more than what I make, so I asked my daughter if she could give some money to support her sister. She doesn't want to, as it'll be expensive and she wants to save on a house, but I really wanted to, as it'll help her sister a lot. My oldest daughter told me to tell my youngest to work and not freeload off everybody else. I told her she was being selfish and I asked her to pay at least $2,000 a year. A whole bunch of laughing emojis. Yeah, your oldest daughter is right, OP. Why should your youngest daughter be able to freeload off everybody else? Now my oldest is upset that I'm trying to use her and that I'm spoiling my 23-year-old because she had to work and go to college, but I told her I changed my parenting style, and good for you. Here's the thing though, nobody has to support your adult daughter, and the comment under that one too. Yeah, you the gay-hole. You want your eldest child to give money to her sibling only because the 23-year-old has no interest in working? What the hell, lady? What a terrible precedent you're setting for her, and how hurt your eldest would feel. Why should your 29-year-old fund your aimless adult child's life? Why do you seem totally fine with her insistence that she doesn't want to work or get an education? She has no plan for her life. She said that she'd be willing to help her sister look for a job and give her $500 a month, not anything more than that. That's brilliant help from your eldest. She shouldn't need to give her any more. 23-year-old needs to figure out what she wants to do with her life and put it into action. OP's account's been suspended, so I can't read any comments, but they must have said this comment here. My daughter usually plays video games all day with her online friends or watches movies and occasionally goes outside. Literally, what the hell? Like, yeah, that's all well and good to live like that, but you can't expect somebody else to pay for it. Like, I don't want to say that the 23-year-old is the favorite child or something, but oh my god, encourage them to do something. It's not okay that you let them expect everybody else to pay for their life. And also, how bloody rich is it to call the oldest one selfish? Like, is it a golden child situation or something? Surely that can't be real. Yeah, well, what a way to start the episode. Post number 2 is called, Am I the a-hole for not accommodating my ex and letting my son get home late the day before his finals? So, as background, I'm constantly having to accommodate my ex. My 15-year-old son lives with him and I only see him every other weekend, and his little brother who lives with me currently also barely sees him on weekends as well, because he always has something going on. Football games, quinceañera practice for his friend, homecoming, football practice. I find I'm always needing to switch weekends or lose time or drive an hour to pick him up from his events. Just this weekend, my weekend, I had to drive all the way an hour to his city to pick up my son because he had a quinceañera that I didn't agree to and his dad could not help with because he was not in town. He basically told me that it was up to me if I wanted to let him go or not, but he could have cancelled his vacation. He planned to switch weekends with me, so my ex went on vacation over Memorial Day. Apparently he was going to fly back Monday early afternoon, but due to hail and thunder, his flight got delayed for 5 to 6 hours, and he told me that he wasn't going to be able to meet up at the halfway point until 8:45 p.m. Normal pickup time is 7:30. I told him no, that won't work, and he needs to drive to my house, an extra hour total, to get our son. My view is it's his fault for going on vacation, and if he really cared about our son, he would have made sure that he was there on time to pick him up at 7:30. And I'm already flexible because I drove all the way to the city to pick up our son from his quinceañera. I have to take care of my current boyfriend and I's baby, and get my ex's younger son ready for bed, so I can't drive to the meetup point at 8:45. His view is that our son has a math final tomorrow that he was going to help him do a final review for to refresh because he was at my house all weekend, and he wanted him to be rested. If he's going to drive from the airport to my house and then from my house to his house, our son would lose an entire hour that he could use to review. If I meet him at 8:45 p.m, his son would be home by 9:15 p.m. versus 10:15. He said that it's my decision to give up my time instead of just driving him to practice, and that the football and social events are things that our son wants to do, so I should be putting him first, and that I'm not putting him first and I'm being unnecessarily inflexible by refusing to drive 25 minutes to the meetup points at 8:45 p.m. He was also very insulting to my boyfriend, saying it's too bad that he can't step up and help me with the baby and our younger son, so I can drop off our older son. He also saying that it's my fault that the brothers don't see each other because I wouldn't let our younger son go live with him for the last 1.5 2.5 years. Okay, not gonna lie, that was super confusing to read, but I think I get the point, and yeah, I'm pretty sure you are the a-hole OP. The top comment says, helping your son go to his normal teenager events is just being a parent. You're not being flexible and doing extra for that. You're only doing what you're supposed to do for your kid. You having to drive extra or lose time is normal. You're supposed to be putting your son first, which means facilitating a normal life for him, which yeah, means homecoming and football practice and friends, quinceañeras. You're bitter and angry at your ex because you're being asked to do what the parent is supposed to do, and now he's got a plane delay that was truly out of his control, and you're choosing to punish your son to stick it to your ex? Of course you the a-hole. I like this comment. Information. What magic or device did your ex have that controlled the weather? Yeah, come on. This other comment too. While you may not have any obligation to your ex, you certainly do have an obligation to your son. You the a-hole for not being there for your son. You the a-hole for talking about your son as if he is a burden. You act like he's controlling your life, but you don't even see him every day. He's your own son, and you're talking about how much of an inconvenience it is to see him every other weekend. Be a parent. The next one is called, am I the a-hole for calling my dad a ding-dong for supporting my sister's business but not mine? 5 years ago, my sister, 25 at the time, decided she wanted to open a preschool. My dad was completely on board, helped her pick out a piece of land, bought the land, got her set up with a modular building company, paid for the building, donated supplies, and paid for everything for the first year. Every year, his company donates thousands of dollars to her school. They provide backpacks, lunch boxes, and water bottles to each of her students every year. They donate food on special occasions. They fund graduation every year, and they provide teacher presents for Christmas and the end of year. She talked about wanting to expand, and his company donated a whole last building and a new playground. I, 27 female, want to open a salon. I asked my dad to help me open it like he did with my sister's school. He recommended I spend a few more years working and then he'll consider it. I reminded him that he helped my sister when she was 2 years younger than me, but he said it's different because she started babysitting at 11, working at a swim school at 13, started working with preschoolers at summer camps by 15, and got a job as a preschool teacher fresh out of high school. He also said that she had a good understanding of how the business would work and had great ideas for location and specialization to attract parents. I told him I do have good ideas, but he's just not willing to listen and spend even half of what he did on my sister on my business. He said the only way that he'll reconsider is if I at least get an associate's in business, get a job in my field and keep it for 3 or more years, and save at least half of the startup costs. All of this has to happen within 4 years. We got into an argument and I called him a ding-dong for supporting my sister and spending tens or hundreds of thousands on her business, but either refusing or making me jump through hoops to get even half of what she got. He says I'm being ungrateful and unrealistic, and that I can't expect something just because my sister has it. And there's a comment here that says info. So your sister was working as a preschool teacher for 7 years, age 18 to 25, before opening her own school with the help of your dad. Your dad says one thing he wants you to do is to get a job in your field for at least 3 years. Have you worked at a salon? You don't mention your work history. And OP said, I have worked in salons, but it's hard to find a good fit. I have ADHD and bosses are not accommodating. And there are some comments under that. So you can't hold down a job as a salon employee, and you think the natural solution is to be a salon owner instead? Yeah, that's probably why your dad doesn't want to help you yet. He doesn't want his investment to go to waste. To be a leader, you first have to learn how to be a follower. Sorry to say, but I'm with him. Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely information missing. The top comment says you the a-hole. While I think some information about your background and experience would have been relevant, the fact that you left it out even when you responded to comments and then said simply, I've worked in salons in said comments, tells me that you don't have anywhere near the necessary experience or temperament that your sister does. You also didn't address people requesting for information about your business plan. Your dad doesn't owe you anything. Sure, I think spending like hundreds of thousands for one child and not for the other is questionable, but from everything that you've written, you don't really have a very credible plan to make good use of the money. And whether you like it or not, your sister's plan likely seems like a much more noble cause to your dad, and one that she has demonstrated many years of passion and qualification for. She's helping raise children, and your dad believes that she is very good at it. In a way, your dad gets to participate in a charitable and possibly lucrative business as an investment of his money with somebody who we trust to make very good use of the capital, while also helping instill qualities that he values into children. That's a very attractive opportunity to deepen his bond with his daughter, while also being proud of her efforts to help build a better future for the community. You want to do hair and nails, and you've been unable to hold down a job or get along with former bosses in salons. Edit check OP's responses in the comments in the post. You just went to him and you leveraged his prior investment with your sister as the primary reason that he should make an investment with you. You don't seem to have a plan or a passion. That's about the worst start to an investment pitch possible, and your attitude about it reeks of entitlement. And add to that you then insulted him after he suggested reasonable terms on which he'd agree to consider investing in you. I doubt that he'd be keen to give you a penny now, and you likely only succeeded in distancing yourself from him while also raising the bar much higher for yourself to obtain his investment. You're not qualified and you've been unsuccessful holding down a job at a salon. Your course is kinda meh, it's not your passion. You don't have much of a plan and you're a emotional and entitled, not the kind of person anybody would want to invest in, and your dad probably justifiably believes that you'd burn through it and then come looking for more. If I were him, I'd be thinking about keeping some money aside for you if you're struggling and need financial support to stay afloat, instead of spending that on a startup now that he isn't confident will succeed under your leadership. But again, you insulted him like a spoiled child who didn't get what you wanted. So yeah, that might be out the window for you now too. You totally blew it, and you need to apologize to your dad, figure out what to do to better yourself and be worthy of what you asked for, and work really hard for like 5 or 10 years of stable employment, or you're going to be stuck in a vicious cycle of blaming your ADHD for your own faults, alienating yourself from your family, and extricating yourself from any future financial help from your father, including inheritance. You're over a decade behind your sister in professional experience and emotional maturity, and you kind of seem to be moving in the wrong direction. Yeah, pretty much. That's such a good comment. The next one is called, am I the gay hoe for not letting my husband go to his friend's funeral? Now, this might sound bad, but let me explain. I'm 32 female and my husband's 32 male. We've been married for 4 years. We have a child who is 1, and they're both the light of my life. Now, onto the issue. Me and my husband met in middle school, though we didn't end up dating until we came back from college. Back in middle school, my husband really liked me. He would try to get me to date him, but I turned him down every time. Then in high school, it stopped and I was happy because then we could just be friends. But I have learned about 3 months ago that at the time he was dating somebody. My friends at S will call me, and he told me that they started dating in 11th grade until close to their last year of college. But apparently my husband's ex's parents didn't want them dating, so he did. Then he came back from school and we meet up and we started dating. After that and some time when his ex started dating somebody else, they became friends. He never told me any of this. Now I'm thinking about everything about how they would act with each other. I also think he used me as a backup to get over this relationship. Now I was going to talk to him about it, but I was letting it all sink in. But a few days ago he passed away. Part of me thought that now I don't have to think about it. But then my husband talked about going to his funeral, and I broke down and I yelled at him, and I told him that he shouldn't be going, and then he called me an a-hole and a heartless biatch, and then he got up and left. Now I know that I might be in the wrong, but a big part of me thinks that I'm not really an a-hole for how long he's lied to me about this. Lied to you about what though? What do you mean? That your husband dated somebody before you? I'm so confused. Yeah, I do feel like you're the a-hole OP. Yeah, like this comment says, so you were your husband's first choice, but you didn't want him. After you said no, he started dating somebody else. You're mad because your husband dated somebody before you. Why? Okay, so he kept his ex as a friend, and for him it isn't just his ex that passed away, but his friend. A friendship that lasted more than a decade, and that's what's important here. Let your husband mourn his friend. You the gay hoe. Yeah, but the friend that died wasn't the ex, was it? I read that as it was the partner of the ex or something. That was really confusing to read, by the way, that post. Yeah, there's so many comments saying the same stuff. The top comment says, you the gay hoe. Jesus Christ, this is pathetic. His friend is dead. You married him and you won, in your mind. He should be able to attend a funeral if that'll help him. I'm sure it will, since he ended the relationship prematurely because of you and your insecurities. Wow, I'm normally confused in these episodes. Right, okay, OP said in the comments that yes, it was the ex that died. But yeah, I guess the post was just super confusing to read. Yeah, like this comment said, so you, his first choice, could turn him down multiple times, but God forbid he found a relationship with somebody who actually wanted him for a while, before you suddenly decided that he was worth your time after all, but he stayed friends with them and wants to attend their funeral. Wow, and you were how old again? Yeah, you're the a-hole. Yeah, I don't really understand how it could not be the a-hole. You know, like how could this ever go the other direction? And the husband wasn't lying. I'm assuming they were saying the husband was lying because they were friends with them. But like, come on. Yeah, that's so sad. And like the husband said, it's heartless. Yeah, no, I feel like that's enough for today. I want to read something wholesome so bad. A photographer took a picture before and after giving this woman a sword. Wow, that's so funny. Everybody's a little bit happier with a sword. Understandable too. I am mighty and so is my sword. I work with the same doctor that delivered me 21 years ago. Wow, how special's that? That's so beautiful. Like, hey, I know you. I delivered you 21 years ago. That's so wild. Also, good on you for remembering that. What a wholesome moment. You're gonna become a cat lady living all alone in a book-filled apartment. Is such a weird insult. Like when a witch tries to curse you and then accidentally gives you the life of your dreams. Oh no, not the cats and the books. How will I ever manage? Oh yeah, what a nightmare. Doesn't sound totally cute and cozy. Like, don't threaten me with a good time, witch. Nothing, just 3 cuties looking at each other. No, stop it. Okay, that's enough for today. Thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful time. And if you did and you want to see more episodes like this, make sure you like and subscribe. And the comment of the day today goes to Richard the Ranger. This is a comment. Yeah, it 100% is. And I appreciate your comment, Richard. I don't have anything else to say about this beautiful comment, but I appreciate it and thank you for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with a new episode and I hope to see you then. So make sure you look after yourself and make sure you have a beautiful, amazing amazing rest of your day. And you know what I'm about to say because I say it every single day. Bye!